What is the difference between apples and sugar? What is the difference between light bulbs and electricity? What is the difference between trees and rain? What do you think? Do you give up? Shall I tell you? The difference between apples and sugar is simply this. You can count apples. 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples, etc. You cannot count sugar. You can weigh sugar, you can measure sugar, but you cannot count sugar. And it is the same with light bulbs and electricity, and trees and rain. You can count light bulbs and trees. You cannot count electricity or rain. Does this matter, you may be asking? Why is he telling us these things? Well, dear listeners, often we want to say how many or how much of something there is. And when we do this, we need to remember that there are some words which we can use only with things we can count, and other words which we can use only with things we cannot count. Here are some examples. We can count cars. 1 car, 2 cars, etc. So we can say, there are only a few cars on the road today. Or, there are many cars on the road today. There are several cars parked outside my house. There are fewer cars than there were yesterday. Few, many, several, and fewer are words that we can use with things we can count, like cars, but we cannot use them with things that we cannot count. Or imagine that you are painting your house. We cannot count paint. We can weigh paint, and we can measure paint, but we cannot count paint. We can say, I need a little paint for the kitchen, or a little bit of paint for the kitchen. So, I do not need to buy much paint. But I need to buy a large amount of paint for the living room. I need less paint for the bathroom than for the bedroom. A little, much, a large amount of, and less are words that we can use with things we cannot count, like paint, but not with things that we can count. How do you know what things we can count and what things we cannot count? Well, generally, if a noun is a plural noun, if it has an S at the end, then it is the name of something we can count, like apples or cars. And if the noun is singular, with no S at the end, then it is the name of something that we cannot count, like electricity or rain. If you find it easier, think plural or singular, instead of countable or not countable. And remember that there are also lots of words and expressions that you can use both with things you can count and with things that you cannot count. Lots of is one of these expressions. There is a grammar note on the podcast website with a PDF file which you can download. And there is also a quiz, so that you can test whether you have understood the podcast. Finally, here is a problem for you to think about. In many supermarkets in England, they have a checkout, which is specially for people who only want to buy a few things. This is so that they do not have to wait a long time behind people who are buying a whole month's groceries for a family of 12 people. There is a sign to show which is the checkout for people who are buying only a few things. In some supermarkets, the sign says 10 items or less. But in one supermarket, it says 10 items or fewer. Which one is right? Answer next time. Goodbye.